So I first met Julian Assange in December 2007 personally.
Itt vagyunk Berlinben, és azt az embert keressük, aki a világ második legveszélyesebb szájtját üzemeltette az Index után.
Úgy hívják, hogy Domscheit-Berg, és most jön ki egy könyve, ami a február 11-ig embargós.
They basically thought, yeah, maybe we can sell like a few copies here in Germany, and they thought, oh, maybe that will work and stuff. And a few days later, it just really exploded, and everyone wanted to publish it.
Az a cím, hogy Wikileaks alellenőrzés. Hogyan működtettük a világ legveszélyesebb weboldalát?
And I had this one Swedish reporter here that was always trying to ask me why, if I support the Pirate Bay, why I'm not releasing my book on the Pirate Bay and why I'm even trying to sell it and that stuff. That's probably something my publisher wouldn't like. So I can't really, I don't know. The next book, maybe I can write the next book for free because hopefully that it's going to sell quite okay and I'll stay a bit independent.
Itt vagyunk. Hol vagyunk? Friedrichstraße 126, itt az épület. És itt rejtőzik valahol a titokzatos hackerből lett transzparencia bajnok. És most éppen a saját Wikileaks nevű kezdeményezésen dolgozik, mert elege lett abból, hogy a Julian Assange, akit mindenki ismer, a Wikileaks alapítója, ilyen vasáskodó alak lett, és a saját érdekeit állítólag az ügy érdeke elé helyezte.
So I first met Julian Assange in December 2007 personally. We met online in November 2007. So by the time we have been in Budapest, I know him for maybe 4, 5, 6 months, something like this.
What has changed since that day in 2008?
Well, what has changed? A lot has changed. I'm no longer involved with WikiLeaks to begin with. But in between that, WikiLeaks had become very successful. We had actually grown WikiLeaks over the years to an established institution that had published lots of really, really interesting documents from all over the world. We've struggled very hard to get to conferences in the beginning. Then we passed the moment where everyone wanted to have us at conferences and we couldn't deal with all the conferences anymore. To the time in 2010 when we started publishing documents that were getting the attention of the world. So the thing is, we always had Julian in the public, always. And we had always had me in the public. So there were at least 2 people in the public that had been speaking on behalf of WikiLeaks. And we've always been telling everyone that there are other people involved, so that someone who wants to threaten us realizes there's no point in taking away me or Julian, because there will be others. So that is, I think, the only approach that makes any sense. The problem is not that he was in the public. The problem was that he was, for himself, saying, and towards others, that he's the one and only. That he's, as he put it once, the heart and soul of this organization and everything else. Well, that was at a point where I was just thinking he's getting a megalomaniac, because he's totally denying that there's anyone else. And that's, from my perspective, when things changed a bit within the organization, because the speed was accelerating. It all got very fast. There was a high pressure on the project. It was breaking world record after world record with the releases it made, but we had not set up a structure. So we were still just a bunch of people. So it was 5 people that really invested a lot of time into this project, a lot of time, effort, money, all of that, and a few more supporters around that were sharing their views with us, that were giving us some suggestions, feedback, also criticism. And to some point in time that was all good, until Julian unfortunately thought that there's no need for criticizing whatever he's doing, and he thought he's the only one to get it right. In summer 2010 we had this first collaboration with the media coming up on the Afghanistan release. So what happened was that, well, Julian had made all these deals in London. And amongst all these deals was that he had promised that we would screen all these documents and take out the names of sources, informants for the Americans, just regular Afghanistan people that had told the Americans there are Taliban in this place and whatever. And these names were in these reports, and Julian had promised that we would redact them. A few days before the release, I met with Spiegel here in Germany, 5 days before the release, and they told me that actually Julian had made that promise, and he did not tell anyone else with us. So we were 5 days away from the release. There were 90,000 documents, and Julian said, I was going to tell you tonight that we need to screen all of these documents and redact them and prepare them for release. So that was when we started asking, why the hell didn't you tell anyone? That's when we started asking him about what kind of deals he's making with the media. And all he said was that it's none of your business, next topic. So that was sort of the attitude towards the summer in 2010, where it just became clear that he was not interested in sharing whatever he was doing with anyone else, and he felt like he's the only one to do it right. Probably he would say that I'm trying to stab him in the back. That's what he said all the time. Every criticism that we had internally, and it was always factual criticism, was answered with, you're trying to stab me in the back, you're trying to take away my leadership. He said that you shall never challenge leadership in times of a crisis. And WikiLeaks is a project that always has a crisis. When he suspended me, he was, in that case, he was the one accusing me of having talked to the media about internal quarrels, and I had not. So he accused me of that. He was the judge and the executioner that suspended me. Justification, the reason for that was that he said, I'm suspended for disloyalty, insubordination, and destabilization in times of crisis. And I felt like I'm somewhere in between a military operation and Scientology. Somewhere in between there is what WikiLeaks had become, at least in his eyes.
If you could decide now, what would be the 3 things that you would have done differently? Like in very specific terms, like the 3 maybe leaks that you wouldn't have leaked if you were
I wouldn't have, I would have leaked the same things, I think. So I would have maybe done some strategically different things. So we should have taken care of redacting names properly with the Afghanistan release. So we shouldn't have let us rush so much. And basically, in order for that, and that is the one thing I would change, if I could change anything, is that I would establish structures as soon as possible. Clear roles and responsibilities, clear decision-making processes, all of that, which we just had not. There was no structure. And at some point in time, he just said he's the boss. And that's what he keeps saying today. I mean, I left voluntarily. At some point in time, I just felt it's getting too stupid for me. So I left. And he's still telling everyone he fired me.
Just to make it clear, like first he suspended you, then
yes.
you left voluntarily. I mean,
yes, he suspended me for 1 month. And that was just to shut me up. And that was also a strategy, so he can later on say I was a disgruntled employee that had been suspended. And it's just normal that an employee criticizes his former employer.
Sorry, the subtitle of your book says like something about working for the most dangerous website in the world or something like that.
Yeah, that is.
Are you in danger right now, you think?
The question is, what is the most dangerous website in the world? I never thought it would be the most dangerous website for the people involved with it. That is not how I see it. It might have been the most dangerous website for the public, maybe, for people in power. It's maybe the most dangerous website for sources because it's not all as good as we thought it was. And it might be a very dangerous website for me personally because I have Julian that has made numerous threats to kill me if I fuck something up in respect to sources.
Is it true? Can you prove those?
It's in the book. So, yeah, and he's even repeating it to reporters. So there were a couple of reporters that have asked him if that statement was true, and he repeated it. Oh. And he said he would do it. I mean, this is just, you know, it's become too stupid for me. Mm-hmm. And that's why basically I...
So if there's one thing that you feel threatened by at the moment is not like the CIA, the FBI,
no,
Secret Service agencies.
I'm sure that, you know, I'm sure that they have a lot of attention on this project. And that's just what you have to expect if you do something like this. But in the end, you see, we're living in 2011, And we had published a couple of documents on how surveillance works of mobile communications. And I really have no illusions there. If I wanted to hide, I wouldn't be able to communicate to anyone. And so the question is, what do you do? Do you fall into some complete stage of paranoia, where you actually think constantly something is happening, something can happen, so therefore I have to constantly be on the run, trying to hide whatever. And that's where you end up like Julian, who, as I read in the Guardian book, once in London, once dressed up as an elderly lady. And I mean, he's 1.94 m or something like this.
One last question, who killed JFK? You must answer it.
I unfortunately do not know yet.
You don't have it in your files?
No, I'm not aware of any files on that.
Are you expecting any files coming in that would
I
answer
don't.
that question?
No, I don't think so either. There's a lot of UFO files coming in, but maybe there's an answer to that question in the UFO files.